Buried in myth, cloaked in mystery, are the Emerald Tablets the key to humanity's forgotten past? These ancient writings, attributed to the legendary figure Thoth, have captivated generations with their cryptic messages and claims of hidden knowledge. But despite being widely dismissed by mainstream historians, the tablets continue to spark intense debate. Are they remnants of lost advanced civilizations? A gateway to ancient technology? Or simply a poetic allegory misunderstood through the ages? The story begins with a mystery. No one knows exactly where the Emerald Tablets came from. Some say they were discovered in the Great Pyramid of Giza, others insist they were hidden in the halls of Atlantis before being passed down to secret societies. The tablets are said to be made of a green crystalline substance, impossible to break, and inscribed with symbols that hold the secrets of the universe. It sounds like something out of a fantasy novel, until you realize just how many influential thinkers have taken them seriously. From alchemists in the Middle Ages to modern-day physicists and spiritual teachers, the Emerald Tablets have inspired a strange fusion of science, mysticism, and ancient history. They speak of concepts far ahead of their time: vibrational frequencies, multidimensional planes, the illusion of time, and even interdimensional portals. These are ideas now echoed in quantum mechanics and theoretical physics, making the tablets seem less like myth and more like misunderstood science. But not everyone agrees. Critics argue that the tablets are a 20th century invention, created by a man named Maurice Doreal, who claimed to have translated them from an unknown source. Mainstream Egyptologists point out there's no trace of these tablets in the archaeological record. Still, their message resonates deeply, especially in a world hungry for hidden truths and alternative narratives. This video isn't about blind belief or conspiracy. It's about uncovering what makes the Emerald Tablets so enduring, so polarizing, and so utterly compelling. We'll explore the origins of the tablets, the identity of Thoth, the hidden knowledge within the texts, and the possibility that they point to a civilization long erased from the history books. Real or hoax, truth or myth, the Emerald Tablets demand a closer look. And that's exactly what we're about to do. What are the Emerald Tablets? Origins and claims. The Emerald Tablets are said to be among the most ancient and powerful writings ever discovered, attributed to a figure known as Thoth, the Atlantean priest-king who later became deified in Egyptian mythology. According to legend, Thoth was not merely a mortal ruler but a being of immense wisdom, who guided the rise of Egypt after the fall of Atlantis. He was the architect of pyramids, the inventor of writing, and the keeper of hidden knowledge. The tablets, as the story goes, were written by Thoth himself and contain everything from spiritual principles to advanced scientific secrets. But the question remains, where did this story come from? The earliest mainstream mention of the Emerald Tablets appears in The Secret Teachings of All Ages, published in 1928 by Manly P. Hall, a renowned esoteric scholar and Freemason. In his work, Hall describes the tablets as ancient texts passed down through secret societies over millennia. He speaks of their profound wisdom and hints at connections to Hermetic teachings and lost civilizations. Hall never claimed to have seen the tablets firsthand, but he treated their existence as more than just metaphorical. His book helped cement their place in the world of occult literature and spiritual philosophy. However, the modern version of the Emerald Tablets that most people are familiar with today comes from a mysterious figure named Maurice Doreal, who also went by the title Dr. Doreal. A controversial and enigmatic character, Doreal claimed in the 1930s to have not only discovered but also translated the original Emerald Tablets, allegedly hidden in a Mayan temple. He published a booklet titled The Emerald Tablets of Thoth, the Atlantean, which presents Thoth's teachings in a poetic, almost hypnotic rhythm. According to Doreal, the tablets were not made of ordinary material but a form of green crystalline substance described as green firestone, a material supposedly impervious to all elements and time itself. Doreal asserted that these tablets were indestructible and that he was chosen to reveal them to the world at a time when humanity stood on the brink of either transformation or collapse. He claimed that the tablets contained secrets of time travel, interdimensional portals, and the path to physical and spiritual immortality. Thoth, according to Doreal's translation, did not die but instead learned how to shift between realms and bodies, allowing him to reincarnate across time and space. This was not metaphor, Doreal insisted, it was literal knowledge hidden in symbolic language, waiting to be unlocked by those who could read between the lines. Skeptics argue that Doreal fabricated the entire thing. There are no archaeological records confirming the existence of these green tablets, and no verifiable evidence that Thoth ever existed as a historical figure. Moreover, Doreal's background was far from academic. He founded the Brotherhood of the White Temple in Colorado, a spiritual movement that blended theosophy, Christianity, and esoteric thought. While some dismissed him as a fringe figure or charlatan, others saw him as a visionary ahead of his time. His translation of the Emerald Tablets gained a cult following, influencing the New Age movement and modern metaphysical literature. What's particularly fascinating is how the Emerald Tablets echo concepts now being explored in modern science. Phrases like, as above, so below, suggest a fractal universe where micro and macro mirror each other, an idea not unlike holographic theory in physics. Discussions of vibration and frequency, the manipulation of time, and non-linear consciousness all appear in Doreal's tablets, long before these ideas entered the scientific mainstream. This overlap has led some to argue that the tablets could be more than myth, they could be ancient blueprints misunderstood as mysticism. The claimed powers of the tablets go far beyond typical religious or philosophical texts. Readers are told they can achieve eternal life, unlock hidden chambers beneath pyramids, awaken the third eye, and transcend physical reality altogether. It's no wonder the Emerald Tablets have become so polarizing. To some, they are the ramblings of an eccentric mystic. To others, they are sacred texts containing lost truths that challenge everything we know about human history and potential. Whether viewed as allegory or artifact, the Emerald Tablets continue to inspire deep curiosity. Their origin story blends ancient myth with modern mystery, and their message has reached across generations, defying categorization. Real or invented, they have become a symbol of the idea that hidden knowledge still exists, waiting for the right eyes to see it. Who was Thoth? Mythology meets mystery. To understand the significance of the Emerald Tablets, we must first unravel the identity of their supposed author, Thoth. In ancient Egyptian mythology, Thoth was far more than a god. He was the divine embodiment of wisdom, writing, mathematics, magic, and time itself. Depicted with the head of an ibis or sometimes a baboon, Thoth was often shown carrying writing instruments, recording the decisions of the gods or the deeds of the dead. But beyond the art and mythology lies something more complex. Was Thoth a real historical figure, perhaps a high priest or a master teacher whose legend evolved over time? Or is Thoth a symbolic archetype, an allegory for the universal intelligence believed to have guided humanity through the ages? In Egyptian cosmology, Thoth was believed to have created language, invented writing, and served as the scribe of the gods. He was the keeper of the divine library and the one who measured the heavens. It was said that he kept the balance of the universe, calculated the movement of the stars, and even regulated time itself. The lunar calendar, which played a central role in Egyptian life, was attributed to his design. The priests of Egypt referred to him in reverent tones, crediting him with the sacred geometry behind the construction of temples and pyramids. Thoth was also closely associated with Ma'at, the goddess of cosmic order, and was believed to weigh the hearts of the dead during judgment in the afterlife. But Thoth's legacy stretches far beyond Egypt. In Greek tradition, Thoth was fused with the god Hermes, giving rise to a new identity, Hermes Trismegistus, or Hermes the Thrice Great. This syncretic figure became central to Hermeticism, a spiritual and philosophical system that emerged in Hellenistic Egypt. Hermetic texts, such as the Corpus Hermeticum, were attributed to Hermes Trismegistus and echo many of the themes found in the Emerald Tablets. Concepts like the unity of all things, the divine spark within humans, and the idea that the material world is a reflection of a higher spiritual realm, all resonate across these writings. The phrase, as above, so below, now a hallmark of occult philosophy, originates from this tradition and is deeply aligned with Thoth's teachings. Hermeticism later influenced countless Western traditions, from alchemy and Freemasonry to the Renaissance's revival of esoteric knowledge. Philosophers and scholars like Giordano Bruno, Paracelsus, and even Isaac Newton studied Hermetic works, seeking the hidden principles believed to govern both nature and spirit. The wisdom attributed to Thoth through the Hermetic lens was not viewed as superstition, but as a legitimate framework for understanding reality, blending science, mysticism, and theology into a single worldview. Yet despite this extensive cultural impact, the question remains, was Thoth ever a real person? Some researchers suggest that the figure of Thoth could have been inspired by a historical individual or lineage of priest-scientists whose teachings were mythologized over time. In this view, Thoth may represent the collective memory of a vanished civilization, one that possessed advanced knowledge long before the dawn of recorded history. The legend of Atlantis, often tied to Thoth's narrative, suggests that he was an Atlantean ruler who brought the wisdom of a fallen empire to Egypt. According to the Emerald Tablets themselves, Thoth escaped the destruction of Atlantis and helped raise Egypt from the ruins of the flood, teaching its people the ways of balance, energy, and cosmic law. This idea is further supported when we examine similar archetypes in other ancient cultures. In Mesopotamia, the god Enki, or Ea, was associated with water, wisdom, magic, and creation, bearing striking parallels to Thoth. Enki was also seen as a benefactor of humanity, credited with teaching civilization and preserving life during the Great Flood. In Mesoamerican myth, the feathered serpent deity Quetzalcoatl, or Kukulkan among the Maya, was revered as a bringer of knowledge, astronomy, architecture, and moral law. Like Thoth, Quetzalcoatl was said to have vanished mysteriously, promising to return one day. These cross-cultural echoes suggest that the story of Thoth may not be unique to Egypt, but rather a part of a larger, shared memory passed down through time. Whether myth or man, Thoth occupies a space unlike any other in the human imagination. He exists at the crossroads of divinity and intellect, representing the pursuit of truth through both mystical and logical means. For those who view the Emerald Tablets as more than fantasy, Thoth becomes the ancient voice of a forgotten age, a guardian of secrets that may hold the key to unlocking both the universe and the self. In every civilization that remembers him, Thoth serves the same role, the wise intermediary between humanity and the divine. If the Emerald Tablets are truly his words, then perhaps they are not just messages from the past, but instructions for the future, etched not only in stone, but in the collective soul of a species still trying to remember who it really is. Timeline of discovery and influence on occult tradition. The Emerald Tablets have a complicated and mysterious history, and tracing their influence is like navigating a maze of whispered traditions and hidden philosophies. While there is no archaeological evidence confirming their existence in ancient times, their ideas and supposed teachings have threaded their way through centuries of esoteric thought. The first widely known association between the tablets and spiritual teachings began to emerge in the early Hermetic texts, which scholars date back to the first few centuries of the Common Era. These texts, attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, the Greco-Egyptian fusion of Thoth and the Greek god Hermes, are written in Greek and Coptic and speak of divine unity, alchemical transformation, and the secrets of the cosmos. The Hermetic writings were revered by early scholars and mystics during the time of the Renaissance, where they were believed to be older than even the Hebrew scriptures. One of the most influential texts, the Tabula Smaragdina, or the Emerald Tablet, singular, is a brief but cryptic work that was translated into Latin in the Middle Ages. It speaks of one thing, from which all things originate, and famously states, as above, so below. This phrase became foundational to alchemical philosophy and laid the groundwork for Western esotericism. Though the Tabula Smaragdina is not the same as the Emerald Tablets of Thoth described by Maurice Doreal, the name and thematic overlap have caused frequent confusion and cross-reference over the centuries. As Hermeticism spread, it captured the attention of European alchemists who saw in its writings the key to transmuting base metals into gold and, more importantly, transforming the soul. The Emerald Tablets became a symbolic gateway to spiritual enlightenment and inner mastery. Alchemists like Paracelsus, Isaac Newton, and Roger Bacon referenced Hermetic ideas in their works, though the fuller version of the Emerald Tablets as known today did not yet exist. The symbolic significance of the green stone, representing eternal truth and incorruptibility, played perfectly into the mystique of the great work, the alchemical pursuit of perfection. By the 17th and 18th centuries, these teachings had been absorbed into the foundations of secret societies like the Rosicrucians and Freemasons. These groups believed that ancient knowledge had been lost or suppressed and that spiritual evolution could only be attained by reawakening that forgotten wisdom. In these circles, Thoth was not just a mythical god but a real initiate, a custodian of the higher mysteries. The legend of tablets made of indestructible green crystal containing the universe's deepest secrets was embraced as literal truth by some, and metaphor by others. It was not until the early 20th century that the Emerald Tablets, as they are most popularly known today, re-emerged in dramatic fashion. In 1925, a figure known as Dr. Maurice Doreal claimed that he had discovered and translated a set of ancient tablets written by Thoth the Atlantean. According to Doreal, the tablets were hidden in a temple beneath the Great Pyramid in Egypt and revealed to him by advanced beings. He would go on to found the Brotherhood of the White Temple in Colorado, a metaphysical organization dedicated to spreading Thoth's teachings as a pathway to enlightenment, spiritual power, and higher consciousness. Doreal's version of the Emerald Tablets was written in poetic, rhythmic English and bore no direct connection to the original tabula smaragdina of classical Hermeticism, yet it echoed similar themes: immortality, cosmic law, multidimensional reality, and the mastery of time and space. These tablets were described not just as text, but as artifacts of immense power. The story behind them was filled with mystery. They were said to be impervious to destruction, glowing with a green crystalline light, and encoded with vibrational frequencies that responded to higher consciousness. Manly P. Hall, one of the most respected esoteric scholars of the 20th century, brought the Emerald Tablets further into public awareness through his landmark book The Secret Teachings of All Ages. Although Hall never claimed to have seen the tablets himself, he regarded the teachings attributed to Thoth as genuine expressions of ancient wisdom, possibly originating from a pre-Egyptian civilization like Atlantis. Hall's work connected the Emerald Tablets to a broader tradition of mystery schools and secret orders that had passed down spiritual knowledge through symbolic language and ritual practice. By the mid-20th century, the Emerald Tablets had become a cornerstone of the growing New Age movement. They influenced a generation of seekers, channelers, and metaphysical thinkers who believed that humanity was on the verge of an evolutionary leap in consciousness. The idea that ancient beings like Thoth had left behind not only teachings but energetic tools for awakening began to gain traction, spreading through workshops, books, and later, internet forums and YouTube videos. From ancient Hermetic texts to secret societies, from Renaissance alchemists to modern metaphysicians, the Emerald Tablets have never disappeared. They've simply evolved, shifting shape to meet the spiritual hunger of each new age. Whether one views them as allegory, fraud, or sacred truth, their influence on occult traditions is undeniable. The message they carry, cloaked in myth and mystery, continues to challenge the boundaries of belief, inviting anyone willing to question the official narrative to take a deeper look. Key teachings of the Emerald Tablet. The Emerald Tablets of Thoth, as translated by Maurice Doreal, are more than mystical poetry. they form a sweeping body of teachings that explore the very fabric of existence. The tablets challenge conventional understandings of time, space, consciousness, and identity. At their core, they present a vision of the universe that is both spiritual and scientific, ancient and eerily modern. Whether one accepts them as literal truth or symbolic wisdom, the teachings within the tablets continue to provoke curiosity and debate, particularly as their core messages now echo in fields as diverse as quantum physics, metaphysics, and psychology. One of the most striking concepts found within the Emerald Tablets is the idea that reality, as we experience it, is an illusion. This theme, which appears repeatedly throughout the tablets, aligns with the modern hypothesis of the holographic universe. Thoth describes the physical world as a projection of energy, shaped by thought and vibration. He emphasizes that what we perceive with our senses is only a shadow of a deeper, underlying truth. According to the tablets, everything is made of light, and all matter is essentially condensed energy vibrating at different frequencies. This mirrors the premise in quantum theory that particles exist in a state of probability until observed, and that consciousness itself may play a role in shaping reality. The idea that reality is not fixed but malleable leads to the second major theme in the tablets, the immortality of the soul and the process of reincarnation. Thoth asserts that the soul does not perish with the body but travels through cycles of birth, death, and rebirth in its journey toward enlightenment. The Emerald Tablets explain that the physical realm is merely one plane of existence among many, and that the soul is an eternal being navigating through these dimensions. This teaching resonates with many ancient philosophies, from the Vedic traditions of India to the teachings of the Gnostics. But what makes the tablets unique is their detailed explanation of the soul's ascent, how it detaches from the lower frequencies of matter and learns to resonate with the higher light of divine consciousness. Closely tied to this is the famous Hermetic principle, as above, so below, which the tablets emphasize repeatedly. This phrase encapsulates the idea that the microcosm reflects the macrocosm, and that understanding one can unlock the secrets of the other. Human beings, according to the tablets, contain the same structures, energies, and divine essence as the cosmos itself. To understand oneself is to understand the universe, and vice versa. This concept has been interpreted both mystically and scientifically. In recent years, researchers in cosmology and biology have noted strange similarities between the structure of the brain and the structure of the universe, between atomic systems and planetary orbits, as if the universe is built on self-similar patterns that repeat at every scale. Perhaps the most extraordinary teachings in the Emerald Tablets relate to the existence of portals, stargates, and interdimensional travel. Thoth claims to have built a device beneath the Great Pyramid that allowed him to shift between worlds. He speaks of space-born sons of light, multidimensional beings who travel the cosmos through corridors of frequency. These are not merely poetic metaphors, they are described as actual technologies or natural laws that can be mastered by those who understand the science of vibration. Thoth tells the reader that the body is a vessel and that by raising one's frequency, it is possible to break free from the limitations of space and time. He even gives instructions on how to escape the bonds of the earth plane, describing practices that resemble forms of astral projection, deep meditation, and even time dilation. That leads directly to one of the most provocative ideas in the tablets, that time is an illusion. Thoth insists that time does not exist as a fixed linear progression but as a field through which one can move consciously. He explains that true understanding comes from stepping outside the illusion of time and recognizing all events as happening simultaneously on different planes. This view, once considered esoteric, is now a topic of serious consideration in theoretical physics. The concept of non-linear time, time loops, and alternate dimensions aligns with ideas proposed by thinkers like Einstein, and more recently, physicists exploring quantum entanglement and the multiverse. Thoth's claim that he has lived 10,000 times 10 lives in different bodies, across eons, is presented not as reincarnational folklore, but as a direct experience enabled by mastery of cosmic law. Another key element running through the tablets is the battle between light and darkness, not merely as good and evil, but as real energetic forces that influence consciousness. Thoth warns of shadow entities known as the children of the shadow, beings that dwell in the lower planes and feed off ignorance, fear, and chaos. He describes them as masters of deception, capable of taking human form and manipulating societies. These forces, he explains, work to keep humanity in a state of spiritual slumber, preventing them from discovering their divine origin and power. The solution, according to Thoth, is light. He encourages readers to seek illumination, not just metaphorically but literally, to raise their frequency and expand their consciousness through knowledge, discipline, and alignment with universal law. This spiritual warfare is not waged through weapons or violence, but through awareness, intention, and understanding. Thoth outlines a path to self-mastery, urging seekers to guard their thoughts, speak with purpose, and avoid the traps of materialism and ego. The ultimate goal is unity with the source of all creation, a return to the one light from which all things emerge. In this way, the tablets combine high philosophy with practical spiritual guidance, offering a roadmap for those willing to walk the path of inner transformation. These teachings, while mystical in tone, have found unexpected allies in modern thinkers. Carl Jung explored the symbolism of the Emerald Tablets in his studies of alchemy and the collective unconscious. Quantum theorists have pondered the implications of a reality shaped by observation and frequency. Neuroscientists are beginning to explore the idea that consciousness may not originate in the brain but may be tapping into something greater, something universal. Whether the Emerald Tablets are an ancient survival of a lost civilization, a channeled work from a higher being, or an elaborate creation of the human imagination, their teachings refuse to fade into obscurity. They speak to something deep and timeless, something that continues to stir the human soul across generations. If Thoth's words are to be believed, they were never meant to remain hidden. They were meant to be remembered, not just read. Not just studied, but lived. And perhaps, as science continues to evolve, we are finally catching up to what the ancients already knew. Modern science versus ancient tech description. The Emerald Tablets speak in language that appears mystical and poetic, yet hidden beneath that lyrical surface are references that sound eerily similar to emerging scientific theories. One of the most recurring themes in the tablets is the power of vibration and resonance. Thoth describes the universe as being composed of vibrations, where everything, from thought to matter, is an expression of energy in motion. In modern physics, this mirrors the understanding that all particles and forces arise from energy fields that vibrate at different frequencies. From the quantum field theory perspective, particles are simply manifestations of underlying waveforms. This raises a compelling question. Was Thoth describing advanced knowledge of energy fields cloaked in spiritual metaphors? Or are we simply reading modern ideas into ancient words? Vibrational healing, which has gained popularity in holistic medicine and bioenergetics, also finds echoes in the tablets. The concept that sound frequencies can heal the body and mind is not a New Age fabrication, but one increasingly explored by medical science. Studies have shown that certain sound frequencies influence brainwaves, heart rhythms, and even cellular repair. Devices such as binaural beats, frequency-specific microcurrents, and pulsed electromagnetic field therapy are modern attempts to harness vibration for healing. Thoth's teachings on the power of sound, light, and resonance to elevate consciousness and restore balance resonate strongly with these developments. He claimed that ancient temples were built not just as places of worship but as energetic machines, structures designed to manipulate frequency and open gateways to higher planes. That leads to one of the most mysterious elements of the Emerald Tablets, the discussion of pyramidal energy. Thoth claims to have constructed the Great Pyramid of Giza as a portal, a tool for tuning vibration and communicating with beings from other dimensions. While this is widely dismissed by mainstream archaeology, there is growing interest in the energetic properties of pyramidal structures. Researchers and hobbyists alike have conducted experiments showing that pyramid-shaped objects can preserve food, sharpen razors, and influence plant growth. Though these claims lack large-scale empirical studies, the persistence of such anecdotal evidence invites a deeper examination. Could the shape and alignment of the pyramids be more than symbolic? Could they be harnessing natural earth energies or electromagnetic currents in a way that modern science has not yet fully understood? The geometry and precise construction of the Great Pyramid continue to puzzle researchers. Its alignment with the cardinal directions, the mathematical relationships embedded in its dimensions, and the mysterious acoustic properties of its chambers suggest that its builders possessed an advanced understanding of physics and geometry. Some engineers have hypothesized that the pyramid could have functioned as a resonance chamber, converting vibrational energy into some form of usable power. If this is true, it points to a level of scientific and technological sophistication far beyond what is credited to the ancient world. Thoth's description of the pyramid as a vibrational gateway aligns with these theories and supports the idea that ancient architecture may have served purposes modern historians are only beginning to consider. The Emerald Tablets also speak of anti-gravity and space-time distortion in poetic terms. Thoth describes levitating through the force of will and manipulating time to travel between dimensions. While this sounds fantastical, modern physics has begun to theorize about similar possibilities. The concept of gravity as a curvature of space-time, introduced by Einstein's general theory of relativity, has opened up the idea that space and time can be manipulated under extreme conditions. Theoretical constructs like wormholes, gravity wells, and zero-point energy suggest that bending time and defying gravity might not be science fiction, but science awaiting the right breakthrough. The ancient descriptions of moving stone blocks without effort, or passing through solid matter, may reflect lost knowledge of manipulating mass and inertia through frequency and resonance. A compelling modern case study that supports this possibility is Coral Castle in Florida, built by a single man, Edward Leedskalnin, in the early 20th century. Weighing barely over 100 pounds, Leedskalnin single-handedly moved and carved massive coral blocks, some weighing over 30 tons. He never allowed anyone to witness his methods, claiming only that he understood the secrets of the ancient Egyptians. The precision of his construction, combined with the mystery surrounding his technique, has led many to speculate that he rediscovered a lost form of anti-gravity or resonance-based technology. No modern equipment was ever found at the site, and attempts to recreate his work using standard tools have failed. Coral Castle remains a modern mystery that mirrors the kind of knowledge Thoth describes in the Emerald Tablets, knowledge of how to manipulate matter and energy using principles that remain hidden from modern understanding. Similar unexplained feats can be found in megalithic sites around the world. From the perfectly interlocked stones of Puma Punku in Bolivia to the massive trilithons of Baalbek in Lebanon, ancient structures defy conventional explanations. Many of these sites were constructed using stones that would be nearly impossible to move today, even with the most advanced cranes. Yet they were cut, shaped, transported, and placed with astonishing precision. The Emerald Tablets suggest that these feats were accomplished not with brute force, but with mastery over frequency and energetic alignment. If these structures were built to resonate with Earth energies, as some researchers proposed, they may have served as power stations, consciousness amplifiers, or dimensional gateways. The central tension here lies between metaphysics and science. Are the Emerald Tablets describing lost technology using mystical language? Or are they simply metaphors, open to interpretation and distortion? Critics argue that drawing connections between ancient texts and modern physics is an exercise in confirmation bias. They say we project meaning where none was intended. But what if ancient science and spirituality were never separate? What if the high priests of past civilizations were also their scientists, engineers, and astronomers? Thoth, as the archetype of wisdom and measurement, embodies this union. He is not just a spiritual guide, but a master of cosmic mechanics. As science advances and begins to explore areas once considered fringe, like consciousness research, quantum entanglement, and the role of information in shaping physical reality, it begins to circle back to the ideas preserved in ancient texts. The Emerald Tablets may not offer equations or blueprints in the way modern science demands, but they suggest principles that are becoming increasingly relevant. Their descriptions of energy manipulation, dimensional travel, and time distortion are no longer purely the domain of mythology. The more we uncover about the structure of the universe, the more it appears that consciousness and frequency play fundamental roles. In that context, the teachings of Thoth, however obscure, gain new weight. Whether he was a mythological figure or a historical master scientist, the knowledge attributed to him seems to anticipate questions we are only now learning how to ask. The Emerald Tablets may not provide all the answers, but they offer a provocative glimpse into a worldview where science and spirit were not divided, and where the impossible was simply the undiscovered. Real or hoax? Debates and criticism. The debate surrounding the Emerald Tablets is one of the most polarizing in the realm of ancient mysteries. While their teachings inspire awe and their language hints at profound cosmic truths, the fundamental question remains unanswered: are the Emerald Tablets real ancient texts, or are they a modern creation dressed in the robes of antiquity? This question has split researchers, scholars, and seekers into opposing camps, with skeptics demanding evidence and believers pointing to the depth of the knowledge contained within the writings as proof of their authenticity. One of the most significant criticisms comes from the fact that there is no verifiable historical record of the Emerald Tablets before the 20th century. Unlike other ancient texts such as the Dead Sea Scrolls, which were discovered in sealed caves and dated through carbon analysis, or the Nag Hammadi codices, which were unearthed in Egypt and traced back to early Christian Gnostic traditions, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth simply appeared in the 1920s. Their emergence is directly tied to Maurice Doreal, the founder of the Brotherhood of the White Temple, who claimed to have translated the tablets after discovering them hidden beneath the Great Pyramid. However, no physical evidence of these tablets has ever been produced, nor have any other scholars corroborated Doreal's discovery through independent means. Mainstream Egyptologists have largely dismissed the tablets as a modern fabrication. From their perspective, the language and style do not match known Egyptian inscriptions or mythological frameworks. There is no record of green crystalline tablets in any museum, no ancient Egyptian references to Thoth writing in such a form, and no archaeological evidence to support the existence of physical artifacts resembling what Doreal described. The story of green firestone tablets, impervious to decay, glowing with energy, and etched with interdimensional knowledge, falls firmly outside the boundaries of what is considered historical documentation. Egyptologists view Thoth as a symbolic deity, not a literal historical figure capable of writing books or leaving behind secret chambers of technology. Despite the dismissal from academia, many esoteric scholars argue that the value of the Emerald Tablets should not be measured by material proof alone. They point out that sacred knowledge has often been preserved orally or symbolically, passed down through secret societies or hidden in allegory to protect it from persecution and distortion. The tablets, they argue, may not be physical relics from ancient Egypt, but they may contain echoes of teachings much older than their modern publication date suggests. This argument is not about proving that Thoth carved them thousands of years ago, but that the wisdom within them reflects a perennial philosophy found across global spiritual traditions. From Atlantis to the Vedas, from Gnosticism to Hermeticism, the tablets resonate with ideas that appear in multiple cultures, suggesting a shared source or universal truth. The language of the Emerald Tablets also invites interpretation. Written in poetic prose, their verses are filled with metaphor, symbolism, and archaic phrasing that can be read on multiple levels. Esoteric thinkers often view them as allegories for spiritual awakening and transformation rather than literal instructions or historical narratives. In this context, the idea that Thoth built portals or mastered time is understood not as science fiction, but as coded teachings about consciousness, meditation, and the nature of the soul. The vivid imagery is seen as a tool to trigger inner understanding, similar to how myths and parables work in other traditions. From this point of view, asking whether the tablets are real misses the point. The question becomes whether the message is transformative. A helpful comparison is the Dead Sea Scrolls. Discovered in 1947 near Qumran, these texts provided unprecedented insight into Jewish thought around the time of Christ. They were controversial not only for their content but for the way they challenged established religious narratives. The scrolls included apocalyptic writings, alternative versions of biblical books, and teachings previously thought to be lost. Initially dismissed by some religious authorities, they are now accepted as one of the most significant archaeological finds of the 20th century. Similarly, the Nag Hammadi texts, unearthed in Egypt in 1945, included the Gospel of Thomas and other Gnostic scriptures that had been banned or hidden by the early Christian Church. These texts also used symbolic language and spoke of inner transformation, divine light, and hidden truths, concepts that echo the Emerald Tablets almost were. Unlike the Emerald Tablets, the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Nag Hammadi texts can be studied in museums, handled by scholars, and placed into historical context. Their physicality grants them a legitimacy the Emerald Tablets have never had. Yet content-wise, the similarities are undeniable. All three challenge mainstream narratives. All three speak of hidden forces, spiritual ascent, and a deeper reality beneath the surface of everyday life. And all three suggest that ancient knowledge has been deliberately suppressed or forgotten. Critics argue that this similarity does not legitimize the tablets but shows how easily modern authors like Doreal could have been influenced by older mystical texts. They suggest that Doreal synthesized elements from Hermeticism, Gnosticism, Theosophy, and Eastern traditions to create something new but branded it as ancient to give it authority. Supporters counter that even if Doreal did act as a channel or compiler, the consistency and depth of the tablets suggest that he tapped into something beyond himself, perhaps a stream of knowledge accessible through altered states, dreams, or intuitive downloads. This is where the debate ultimately rests, on the boundary between objective fact and subjective truth. For historians and archaeologists, the lack of physical evidence is decisive. For mystics and seekers, the impact of the teachings themselves holds greater weight. The Emerald Tablets continue to circulate, inspire, and provoke thought, not because they can be proven real, but because they offer a vision of reality that challenges the limits of what we think we know. In the end, whether real or allegorical, the Emerald Tablets serve as a mirror. They reflect our desire to reach beyond the ordinary, to reconnect with something ancient and wise, and to believe that buried beneath the sands of time, perhaps even within ourselves, lies a deeper truth waiting to be remembered. The tablets and the lost civilization of Atlantis. One of the most captivating claims found within the Emerald Tablets is their direct link to the lost civilization of Atlantis. Thoth, the author of the tablets, identifies himself not only as a priest and king of Atlantis but as one of the few survivors of its catastrophic fall. He claims to have journeyed from that advanced civilization to Egypt, where he helped to rebuild human society and plant the seeds of wisdom that would later bloom into the dynasties of the pharaohs. If this account holds any truth, then the Emerald Tablets may not simply be esoteric writings, they may be the last surviving record of a forgotten chapter in human history. Thoth's version of events is presented with both mythological grandeur and cryptic precision. According to the tablets, Atlantis was a center of immense knowledge and technological mastery, but its people fell into spiritual corruption. This decay, Thoth explains, led to divine retribution in the form of natural catastrophe. Before the final destruction, he was instructed by higher beings to flee with his followers and preserve the sacred teachings. Egypt became his destination, and there he established a new center of learning. This narrative aligns with legends found in other cultures, where wise beings from destroyed homelands arrive on distant shores to share knowledge and elevate civilization. The idea that Atlantis could be real and that its refugees may have played a role in the formation of early Egypt is dismissed by mainstream historians, who consider Atlantis to be a fictional allegory created by Plato. In his dialogues Timaeus and Critias, Plato described Atlantis as a powerful naval empire that existed around 9,000 years before his time and disappeared in a single day and night. Plato claimed that his account came from Egyptian priests who passed the story to the Greek statesman Solon. According to the Emerald Tablets, this isn't mythology, it's autobiography. Thoth does not describe Atlantis as a metaphor but as a highly developed civilization with technologies and spiritual knowledge that far surpassed what we associate with ancient cultures. Support for the Atlantis-Egypt connection comes from the alternative Egyptology community, which challenges the conventional timeline of Egyptian history. One of the most controversial theories is the Sphinx erosion hypothesis. Geologist Dr. Robert Schoch proposed that the weathering patterns on the Sphinx suggest it was eroded primarily by water, not wind and sand. This would imply the monument is much older than the commonly accepted date of 2500 BCE, possibly predating dynastic Egypt by thousands of years. If the Sphinx does date back to a time of heavy rainfall, estimated to be around 10,000 BCE, this would place its construction within the same timeframe Plato gave for the destruction of Atlantis. Supporters of this theory point to the absence of inscriptions linking the Sphinx to Pharaoh Khafre, to whom it is officially attributed. They also argue that its architectural style differs significantly from other known Old Kingdom monuments. These inconsistencies raise the possibility that Egypt inherited some of its most iconic structures from a much earlier civilization, perhaps even one that survived a global cataclysm. If Thoth and his fellow Atlanteans did arrive in the Nile Valley after such a disaster, the Sphinx and the pyramids might not be Egyptian inventions, but restorations or extensions of Atlantean architecture. Comparing Plato's account of Atlantis with Thoth's in the Emerald Tablets reveals both overlap and divergence. Plato described Atlantis as a utopia that degenerated into hubris and aggression, resulting in divine punishment. Thoth echoes this decline but adds a deeper layer of spiritual failure, claiming that the Atlanteans turned away from the light and embraced dark forces that ultimately led to their ruin. Thoth also positions himself not just as a witness to this fall, but as a preserver of its wisdom, tasked with ensuring that its mistakes would not be repeated. In contrast to Plato's distant and doomed vision, the Emerald Tablets offer a story of continuity, survival, and renewal. This difference is key to understanding why so many believe the tablets are more than just allegory. They provide a first-hand narrative, however fantastical, that suggests an unbroken line of knowledge stretching from a lost golden age into the present. If the Emerald Tablets are what they claim to be, then they are the only surviving record written by an Atlantean, chronicling not just the fall of a civilization but the birth of a new one. Thoth's mission was not to mourn the past but to prepare humanity for a higher understanding of reality, rooted in the universal laws he carried from Atlantis. The question remains whether we are reading the words of a survivor or the imaginative writings of a mystic. Without physical evidence, the story of Atlantis remains suspended between myth and memory. Yet the consistency with which this story appears across cultures, combined with the architectural and geological anomalies in Egypt, continues to stir curiosity. The Emerald Tablets do not offer definitive proof, but they invite a re-examination of history through a different lens, one that acknowledges the possibility of lost civilizations, hidden wisdom, and survivors who carried the torch of knowledge through the darkness of forgotten time. Influence on pop culture, conspiracies, and the New Age. The Emerald Tablets of Thoth have made a remarkable leap from obscure occult texts to widely discussed material in today's pop culture, spiritual circles, and conspiracy communities. What was once considered fringe literature has now been woven into documentaries, podcasts, YouTube channels, and even television programs like Ancient Aliens. The tablets have become a touchstone for anyone exploring lost civilizations, ancient extraterrestrial contact, and the idea that humanity's true history is far stranger than we've been told. Their cryptic language and mysterious origins make them fertile ground for speculation, reinterpretation, and controversy. One of the earliest groups to embrace the tablets in modern times were the Theosophists. This esoteric movement, which rose to prominence in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, emphasized the existence of ancient wisdom traditions passed down through hidden masters and enlightened beings. While the tablets themselves didn't appear in the Theosophical canon until Maurice Doreal's version surfaced, their themes were instantly compatible. Teachings about multidimensional planes, spiritual hierarchies, and vibrational mastery echoed core theosophical ideas. Later, these concepts would evolve further in the New Age movement, where Thoth became not only a figure from mythology but a channeled presence, appearing in books, messages, and meditative experiences shared by spiritual practitioners around the world. The Emerald Tablets have also found a strong connection to the Law of One Material, another channeled series of texts that claim to deliver universal truths from an advanced extraterrestrial consciousness known as Ra. Both works emphasize spiritual evolution, the illusion of physical reality, and the importance of service to others as a path toward higher densities of existence. In both systems, humanity is portrayed as being on the brink of a quantum leap in consciousness, with ancient wisdom playing a crucial role in guiding this transformation. Additionally, the Akashic records, described in esoteric traditions as a non-physical library of all human thought and experience, are often cited as the source through which the Emerald Tablets were rediscovered or reinterpreted. Some claim that Thoth, in his non-physical form, continues to transmit knowledge through these records to those attuned to his frequency. These ideas have fueled a wave of conspiracy theories, especially among those who believe that powerful institutions are deliberately hiding ancient truths. According to this view, the Emerald Tablets contain revelations that could shatter official narratives about human origins, consciousness, and the structure of reality. Some conspiracy theorists argue that global elites, secret societies, and hidden governments are aware of these teachings and are actively suppressing them to maintain control. The notion that pyramids are energetic machines, that consciousness shapes reality, or that ancient beings had access to technology beyond our own. These are not just fascinating ideas but perceived threats to the established order. As a result, the tablets have been positioned at the center of a web of secrecy, with claims that museum artifacts, archaeological finds, and even parts of the Emerald Tablets themselves have been buried or redacted to prevent the public from awakening to their true potential. On social media and YouTube, the influence of the Emerald Tablets continues to grow. Countless content creators produce videos analyzing Thoth's teachings, linking them to quantum mechanics, sacred geometry, and even planetary alignments. Animated explainers, narrated readings, and speculative breakdowns draw millions of views, often blending facts with high-concept theories. While some channels attempt to treat the material with care and research, others take a more sensational approach, amplifying speculation without grounding it in context. This has led to a mixed reception. On one hand, the tablets have reached audiences who might never have encountered them otherwise. On the other, the spread of unverified or overly dramatized interpretations risks diluting the core message or turning it into entertainment rather than enlightenment. Spiritual influences have played a major role in this spread. On platforms like Instagram and TikTok, Thoth's quotes, often paraphrased or reworded, appear alongside motivational graphics and aesthetic montages. Phrases like, "raise your vibration," "unlock your soul," and "remember who you are," are attributed to the tablets and used to promote workshops, online courses, and guided meditations. While many of these influences mean well and genuinely seek to help others grow, the commercialization of Thoth's teachings has raised questions. Are these messages being used to empower or to profit? Is the sacred being trivialized for the sake of visibility? Some scholars argue that this evolution is natural. In every age, ancient wisdom adapts to the tools and culture of the time. Oral traditions gave way to scripture, scripture to books, and now books to digital content. The Emerald Tablets, in their journey from mythical stone to meme-worthy quote, reflect humanity's ongoing hunger for meaning in an increasingly chaotic world. Their cryptic nature invites endless interpretation, which makes them flexible enough to inspire both deep introspection and wild speculation. Whether through conspiracy theories, spiritual awakening, or pop culture fascination, the Emerald Tablets have become a mirror reflecting the collective curiosity of our time. They challenge the boundaries between science and spirituality, fact and myth, history and imagination. As long as people continue searching for answers beyond the surface of accepted knowledge, the voice of Thoth will likely remain part of the conversation, guiding, questioning, and igniting the spark of wonder in a world that desperately needs it. Why people still believe, psychological and cultural appeal. In an age overflowing with information yet starving for wisdom, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth continue to resonate with a surprising intensity. Despite the lack of physical evidence, despite the criticisms from academia, and despite the many questions surrounding their origin, people are still drawn to them. The reasons for this enduring fascination go beyond historical curiosity. They tap into something deeply psychological and cultural, our collective yearning for hidden truths, spiritual clarity, and a sense of belonging in an often chaotic and disconnected world. At the heart of the belief in the Emerald Tablets is a very human desire for meaning. In a time when traditional institutions like religion and science are often viewed with suspicion or seen as incomplete, people seek answers elsewhere. The tablets promise more than facts. They offer a narrative that speaks directly to the soul. They tell us that we are eternal beings, that the universe is a living entity filled with purpose, and that we are more powerful than we've been led to believe. These ideas provide comfort and empowerment, especially in an era marked by uncertainty, disillusionment, and global instability. The allure of hidden knowledge plays a central role in their appeal. The Emerald Tablets are wrapped in secrecy, written in cryptic verses that suggest layers of meaning waiting to be decoded. For many, this evokes a sense of mystery that is both intellectually stimulating and spiritually profound. There is a thrill in feeling like you are uncovering something ancient and forbidden, something only a few are ready to understand. The notion of being in on the secret creates a sense of exclusivity, a feeling that you've been chosen to see what others cannot. This psychological reward reinforces belief, making the teachings feel personal and deeply significant. Cognitive science also sheds light on this phenomenon. Human brains are wired to seek patterns and meaning, especially in complex or ambiguous material. When reading ancient texts like the Emerald Tablets, people naturally interpret phrases in ways that align with their existing beliefs, desires, or fears. This pattern recognition can lead to profound personal insights, but it can also reinforce confirmation bias. The tablets are written in such symbolic and open-ended language that they invite multiple interpretations. As a result, readers often see in them exactly what they are looking for: validation, guidance, or a grand cosmic framework. Culturally, the tablets serve as a bridge between the ancient and the modern, the mystical and the rational. They appeal to a growing demographic that identifies as spiritual but not religious, people who crave depth without dogma. In this context, the Emerald Tablets function not just as relics of a lost civilization, but as living texts. They offer a flexible system of thought that adapts to new understandings in science, psychology, and personal development. Whether taken literally or metaphorically, they present a worldview where nothing is random, and everything, every frequency, every thought, every moment, has meaning. Ultimately, belief in the Emerald Tablets is not just about whether they are real or fake. It's about what they represent. They embody a longing for truth, a hunger for the divine, and a belief that there is more to this life than what we see. In a world often reduced to noise and distraction, the tablets offer a quiet, enduring invitation to look deeper, think higher, and remember something we might have forgotten. After examining the origins, teachings, controversies, and cultural impact of the Emerald Tablets, we're left with a fascinating paradox. What's undeniable is their influence. From secret societies to modern spirituality, the tablets have inspired countless seekers across generations. They've woven themselves into the fabric of pop culture, shaped New Age philosophies, and sparked serious inquiry into the nature of consciousness, vibration, and ancient wisdom. Their presence is real, even if their physical proof is not. What's possible is even more intriguing. The tablets could be a synthesis of forgotten knowledge, preserved in poetic form, passed down through oral traditions, or accessed through altered states of awareness. They may represent an echo of teachings from a lost civilization, whether Atlantis, a forgotten pre-dynastic culture, or simply a metaphor for inner transformation. Their language, though mysterious, overlaps uncannily with ideas in quantum physics, metaphysics, and spiritual psychology. Perhaps they are not outdated myths, but advanced knowledge framed in symbolic language that modern science is only beginning to understand. And then there's the fantasy. The glowing green firestone tablets, the immortal Thoth, the interdimensional portals beneath the pyramids, these elements stretch the boundaries of belief. But even fantasy has its place, often acting as the spark that ignites deeper exploration. So what if we've already been told the truth, but forgot how to read it? What if the tablets are not just artifacts, but mirrors, reflecting the potential within each of us to remember who we are and why we're here? The Emerald Tablets don't demand belief. They invite curiosity. They whisper of a greater design and challenge us to look beyond the surface. Maybe, just maybe, they've survived all this time because they were never meant to be proven, but to